This is Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. I'm here at the 2011 Mr. Olympia contest. We are here after the finals where we had an incredible decision. Before we get to that, we have Lonnie Teeper from Iron Man Magazine and Chris, the technician, Aceto here to assess all the action here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Started out with a cucaracha dance in the hotel. And we wound up with Phil Heath as the new 13th Mr. Olympia. Were you happy with that decision?
It was the right decision, and all three of us went with Jay Cutler. And
in the predictions we did.
In the predictions, yeah, and all three of us had Phil Heath ahead last night.
Why did Phil Heath win this contest in your estimation?
Well, he's just got beautiful shape. Jay came out last night, and he just was not at his best to begin with, and he's going to have to be at his best to beat a kid like Phil Heath. I thought Cutler definitely was better tonight. His color was way better tonight, but it wouldn't have made a difference.
And he had some good makeup on that arm that was all bruised up.
You know, and I looked at the arm closer, Dave, but it really, to me, wasn't that much of a negative. When he hit that left bicep peak, it still, it didn't affect the muscle, the shape of the muscle.
Right. Do you agree with that?
That it didn't affect the shape of the muscle?
Yeah. What about the arm? Did the arm detract from his physique?
Of course it did. Of course it did. I mean, I'm sure if you asked probably the most straightforward, honest guy in bodybuilding, Jay, he would say, of course it did. I mean, do you think that Jay actually thinks going into the pre-judgment with an arm like that it's not going to affect the way he either feels or how he's going to pose it or present it? So, I mean, did it affect the judges? I don't know. Did it affect him? Yeah, of course.
Did it affect the outcome?
No, because if his arm was, perfect, then I think...
Does Heath still win?
No, Heath still wins, yes. With the perfect arm, Heath still wins.
Now, I understand Cutler, I don't know what happened to his arm, but he obviously had some kind of a hematoma in there. He bruised it in some way. I heard they had called in Chad Nichols as the expert to try to help them with the bruising. I heard he had suggested they apply heat to it, which is obviously anyone who knows whenever you have a contusion or kind of hematoma, you want to apply ice to that to detract it. But I think Jay did the smartest thing. He probably went out and got a very good makeup artist because they did cover it up. I didn't notice it as much. I noticed the lump, but I didn't see the discoloration.
Yeah, in the night show, I didn't know if we were used to it or the fact that it was covered, so we didn't notice it as much.
Do you think Cutler knew that he lost this show? He seemed almost like very consolatory. He was kind of like being nurturing to Phil. Do you think ahead of time he kind of knew that he was not going to take home the title?
Yes, I do. I really do, and I think you could tell in his speech that he, like he said, he was telling Phil before they even announced the results, congratulations on this victory. And I think he knew. It was just pretty much an impossible task. Phil Heath was even better than he was last year. This was a very controversial decision in 2010.
Yeah.
Now you come back in 2011, Heath's even a little better than he was last year. Jay wasn't quite as good as he was last year. Where else were they going to go?
Does Jay retire after this, or does he say, you know what, I screwed my bicep up, I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to regain the title?
You know, he and I were talking Thursday night, and he always talks about retirement come Olympia time because it's at the end of such a long year. The one difference I really noticed between those two guys is Phil seemed so energetic and refreshed, and Jay seemed tired last night. He just seemed drawn and tired, had more energy tonight, but, he's on the road almost every week all year. He's 38 years old now. Who am I to tell somebody when to retire? But if he asked me, do you think I should, I'd probably say yes.
I would agree, Lonnie. I would say that, Jay's a great champion, but at this point, he probably can make more money not competing, not have to subject his body to the rigors of what he's doing. Is Jay getting old and his body's not responding, or has he just not got the right formula to bring him to the point where we've seen him in 2009, when we saw him in 2001 when you helped him? What's your assessment? You have a better understanding of Jay Cutler than anyone.
Well, I mean, the formula, if you backtrack, 09 was great, 010 was, down, and, here we are, 011, we're talking about not as good as 010, not as good as 09. I don't know if it's age-related, and it's certainly not. I don't think anyone can doubt Jay's dedication and drive and, focus on what he wants to accomplish when he focuses on something. So maybe it's in the formula. I don't know. That's something that only he would know, but... if there's somebody who, we've said this before, if there's somebody who has the ability, the mental capacity to come back, a lot of people can't from even any type of loss, let alone, losing something like this, it'd be Jay.
Jay, though, just hearing his speech that he gave, is that Jay saying, I'll be back next year? Or is that Jay saying, you know what, Phil, you're the new man now, I'm moving on?
Well, it goes right back to the arm. I mean,
he's got a perfect excuse, right?
Well, no, not an excuse, but he's going to, you have to wonder when he walks backstage thinking, okay, I'm second, I've been here before, why am I second? What's going to factor in there is, possibly, the arm. What would have been if my arm, was there a lot of worry with the arm, which made him cause, to hold a lot of water, his cortisol levels go up or whatever. But, another point is Lonnie saw him, and other people saw him on our site, looking wild 10 days ago, wild, unbeatable as far as I'm concerned. And
what happened, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe the arm injury was in that last 10-day period. But I saw Lonnie a couple days ago, and Lonnie was speechless with the way he looked.
And Chris, another thing, and we talked about this last night at the prejudging. Take away 2009, there's always seems to something go wrong with Jay. Yeah. In 2008, he had an infection, and last year he barely made it through the prejudging. This year he had the injury. I think the biggest thing to think of it, and going back to Chris's point, whether you retire or not, when he lost in 2008, he lost it to a 225-pound guy who was 38 years old, Dexter Jackson. Tonight he loses to a 245-pound guy, 3 inches taller than Dexter Jackson, 31 years old. That's a lot to come back and beat.
I want to call Phil Heath, rather than the gift, the prophecy, because you told me that when you were working with Jay back in 2003, he had seen Phil Heath backstage at a show he won. I guess Jay was guest posing. Was that a prophecy? Was Jay seeing Phil backstage almost like what was to come, a foreshadowing, if you may?
Well, I mean, this is April 4th. It's funny that Phil mentions it. It's my brother's birthday. Jay calls me that day and said, there's this kid, I saw this guy, and the quote was, he's reminds me of Kevin Levrone, he's going to be Mr. Olympia, period, at the end of the sentence. And that,
little did he know he would beat him for the Olympia title.
It's unbelievable. So
let's talk about Kai Greene. Third place here tonight. Not the best Kai Greene we've seen, but the guy has got enormous potential. In my mind, Kai Greene lost the Olympia. I think Kai Greene comes in shape here. He's the new Mr. Olympia. What do you say to that statement?
See, here's the thing, Dave, as I was talking about earlier in the Ironman wrap, does Phil Heath now win it 5 years in a row like every Mr. Olympia does? Like Mike Lackner says, don't forget about Kai Greene. And like Chris said last night, I said if he comes in 10 or 12 pounds lighter, Chris says, hell, come in 20 pounds lighter. Let's see what he brings. When he brought that package to the Arnold Classic in 2009, that was freaky. You put that Kai Greene on the stage versus this Phil Hill. Phil Heath. Phil Hill was great too. You remember him?
Who wins?
Ooh, God, I got to go with Heath right now because he's Mr. Olympia, but let me tell you, I haven't lost faith in Kai Greene.
Was this Kai Greene's show to lose?
Yeah, it was. And this is why when we had a fireside, Lonnie wasn't there, we had a fireside chat. It seemed like we were just dogging on, just criticizing the hell out of Kai. But the point was, I think we were doing it is because everyone understands what he can achieve, and we've seen it before. But we've seen, last year, the year before, the Vegas heat. We've talked about the humidity. You mentioned you asked him about his weight, and
you and I were concerned that it was so high, and we knew that was not a good weight. I think Kai was 10 pounds lighter from yesterday to today, and he still needs to be 10 pounds lighter.
That would be my 20.
Yeah, that's your 20.
Yeah, and so we at that fireside chat, it sounded like we're dogging on him because the expectation other people have for him is what is just is unbelievable, and that's what he's capable of. So yes, it was his show to come in and decide where he was going to play.
When I saw Kai eating for a full hour through the whole press conference, I knew he was in trouble. Kai Greene, I think Derek Farnsworth said Derek said they should starve him for 2 days before the show because he'll probably look better, because I've never seen Kai be flat.
Yeah, he was much tighter tonight, and he was very impressive tonight, and you could see that crazy thickness, and he's got to be frustrated because this is a show.
And you can see it in his face. He was frustrated.
Yeah. The one thing that he definitely lacks that Phil Heath now has, consistency.
Right.
Phil Heath was great at the 2010 Arnold, where he arguably could have won the Arnold over Kai Greene. He was great at last year's Mr. Olympia. And
He's never off, except when he got the food poisoning.
Yeah, and he was greater at this year's Olympia. Kai Greene's like the stock market.
I don't think Kai Greene has found the formula that works for him, and when he does, I think that he will be very dangerous. I don't know, if who's ever helping him or who's ever been helping him is just feeding him too much. I think his food consumption needs to come down. There's no one bigger than him on stage, and I think that he's missing the boat, so to speak. Let's talk about a guy he helped for 28 days, Victor Martinez, who I thought was one of the most improved bodybuilders of the Olympia. Arguably you could put him in third place. I think if he would have been a little bit tighter and maybe Chris had a little more time with him, he might have been second place tonight.
I don't think anybody would have argued with that. Victor Martinez was back. I want to congratulate Chris for the short time he worked with him, whatever he did.
29 days.
29 days.
Today's show.
Yeah,
today.
okay, it wasn't the longest time, but let me tell you, I'd given up on Victor Martinez. I always thought he had a beautiful physique, but now I was at the stage, you know what, show me. I'm tired of it. You're just not nailing it. He came back. It's the best we've seen him since 2007. Now he's back in the mix, too. We talk about Kai Greene being a threat to Phil Heath. I think Victor Martinez is now a threat to Phil Heath.
If you have 16 weeks
Yes.
with Victor Martinez, does Victor Martinez win the Arnold Classic?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think, well, you know what, you got to put it into context. Jay's not going to do it.
Phil's not
going to do it. Kai's the most dangerous, inconsistent bodybuilder in bodybuilding. So I think it comes down to the Kai versus Vic show.
That's really what it is. Is
that crazy? Unless psychotic Texan decides to jump into
Branch
it.
will not be competing until next Olympia probably, and he'll have to try to qualify before that.
Has to requalify.
And with the new rule, you have to win a pro show to qualify for the Olympia. It's going to make it a lot more difficult.
The top three
at the Arnold. Just at the Arnold and the Olympia, right?
And the Olympia.
Yeah, but Branch is not competing until next year.
So I think what Branch will do is he'll probably do that aerobic. He's in from
Dallas,
Texas.
Europa show.
Go to Dallas. Unless he wants to wait to Tijuana the week before.
I don't think so.
And nail it. But probably see Branch Warren at that Europa. But Victor Martinez now, real curious about him. I'm real curious about Brandon Curry, who I've really liked. And there was a guy that didn't make the top 10 that I think's got a lot of potential is Sean Roden.
Yeah, obviously a future star. Let's go back to Victor Martinez. You said he was a little resistant to the water depletion with you on Friday.
Yeah.
He listened to you on Saturday.
Yep.
Arguably, he was very much better tonight. Does Victor have trust in you again to say, if you start cracking the whip on him, he'll listen?
Well, I tell Troy, I have trust in me, which means that, I can't force anything on people. So it's I trust my instincts, and if somebody can trust me, that's fine. So, I mean, I think that's, part of the formula going forward is, part of working together is if he can, go back to the 03-04 where it's like, okay, this is, I'm the dick, you tell me what to do, and I trust my instincts, and if that formula pans out, I think he's capable of winning the Arnold.
Let's talk about Dennis Wolf, who in my mind is Mr. Olympia from the front and the sides. He turns around, he shows vulnerability in the glute, hamstring, calf area. Is this the best that Wolf could expect? 5th place here?
Probably, like you say, in certain poses he looks like Mr. Olympia, and then in other poses you can say, hey, he may squeak in the top 10.
At the pose down, he was next to Cutler. He looked better than him from the front.
He's big and wide. If you need somebody with a smaller waist, really wide. I don't know if you guys tell me. You guys competed. You guys work with people. I haven't. I don't know. Can you fill in those weaknesses now after competing for 15 years?
Anything can be fixed, I think. But whether he's got the mindset or to do it isn't. Or is he willing to do what it takes to do it? Sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and reteach yourself how to lift. And some of these guys are so stubborn with what they do that they can't do that.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. When he came out in prejudge and I was doing the play-by-play, and I thought, well, Victor's in trouble for sure. I thought, like, Jay's in trouble, and I figured, well, maybe he just was really impressive when he first came out. So when you put him next to each other people, you can see some things that need to be filled in, but I think they're like, focus issues, training issues. Can he he's improving.
He has improved.
He's improved a lot. And
throw him in the mix for the Arnold. When you said it's
absolutely.
the Kai,
He could be a winner
Victor,
there.
throw in Dennis Wolf in that trifecta.
Let's maybe I said Victor Martinez is the comeback show of the year, but maybe Dexter Jackson might be, because Dexter looked terrible, although he squeaked out a few wins in the beginning of the year. He really came back and looked a lot better, but he's still really suffering from lack of size compared to some of these guys like Wolf and obviously Cutler, and he looks small next to these guys. Is Dexter back in the mix? Or is he going to still remain in that 4th and 5th place slot?
I think because of the lack of size, if these other guys are anywhere near in their top shape, you can't beat him. He's given away 30, 40 pounds. I don't know. He says he weighs 235. I don't think he probably weighs 220.
Yeah.
But too much to give away. And he's going to be 42 years old in November. I don't think he's going to be getting any better, physically, condition-wise. This is as good as he's been in a long time.
Will he win that Masters Pro World Championships at the end of the year, you think?
Who's actually doing that?
I think Tony Freeman, Troy Alves, all the 40-plus guys. Okay. Marcus Haley.
I would say right now that Dexter Jackson, he wins it.
It's $100,000. Dexter's licking his
shop.
shop.
The $100,000 in Miami.
All right, that's the Lonnie Teeper prediction.
That's their prediction. I don't know who's in the show.
Tony Freeman will play. I heard Samir Banut's in the show.
Yeah, but Samir Banut, went to high school with me. I love the live in Lebanon, and unless it's a reunion pose down, no offense, Samir, don't get mad at me. He's got a bad temper. I love the guy.
Tony Freeman finishes in 7th place. Chris and I said he's striding glutes away from a top 3 finish.
Yeah, well, they're judging him, I think, on whether it's fair or not, and it's fine with me, is they're judging him on his weakest link, which is really the condition of the back, but also the glutes. And I think if the strategy for him going forward in a show like this, a big show with a lot of money on the line, contracts, whatever, is bring him in at all costs. Whatever your body weight has to fall to, just bring him in. And I think they will over-reward him because they'll say, okay, wow, something different. Tony, push him up right there. And he's got the shape, I
know he's upset, but he's on the cusp, and hopefully he'll be back for the Arnold. He's another guy who could be in that mix for the
Tony
win.
Freeman can win any show as far as I'm concerned. Like Chris said, he's this far away with certain things. It's such beautiful shape. He's 6'2". He's wide. He's got a small waist. He's in good condition. And
in some poses, he looked the best out there tonight.
Yeah, the X factor is always a title factor to me.
Let's talk about the 202 Olympia, or 202 Showdown, as they like to call it here in Las Vegas. Kevin English repeats. Lonnie, I just want to point out, after prejudging, English was really very depleted because he had trouble making weight, and the weigh-in this year around was a day earlier. Okay, usually they have 2 days to fill up. Kevin only had 1 day. He was very light at 198. I know he said he went out and did a colonic the day before to suck down. He might have depleted too many electrolytes. He looked like he was having trouble posing on stage at the prejudging. He couldn't open his back up. He looked real out of it. He did come back better tonight, but he was winning by 3 points after prejudging. Do you think that was a good decision?
Not if I was voting, and I picked Kevin English to win. So I'm actually going and saying my pick was probably wrong based on what I saw. I would have had Flex Lewis winning it tonight. Could have gone either way. But after the judging, I would have Flex Lewis. Matter of fact, I did an in-depth interview with Mike Katz today, who was one of the judges. And he was saying, who's that guy from England, from the UK, that little blonde guy? And Flex Lewis.
You judged him, he didn't know his name?
He didn't know his name.
That's a problem.
Well, it's probably better. That
might be a problem right there, Chris. Did you think there was any way English had the lead after the prejudging?
No, I didn't have him winning any shots against Flex Lewis.
Arguably tonight he was a lot better.
He was radically better tonight, but they didn't have any. There was no poses against each other at night. This just left me confused.
Lonnie, you seem to be up on everything. Why was there no 202 comparison tonight? Because I know 50% of the scores tonight, yet they don't judge the posing round, and all there was a pose down. Did they forget to do the comparison round?
Well, remember now, the 202 guys, I don't even think last year the top 6 even got to do their posing routine. So they've always been kind of like the stepchild. Yep. I think it's because, God, we got to fit this in and we got to fit this in.
Come on, it takes 2 minutes.
But I think that's what they're thinking. Either that or they're just...
How do you judge the night show, though?
I don't know. I think that's a major mistake, and I think that's one thing that needs to be corrected next year. You got to compare those guys.
Who was your top 3 for the 202, Lonnie?
I had Flex Lewis first. I actually had Jose Raymond second and Kevin English third.
After prejudging, I had Jose Raymond first, Flex Lewis second, English third. After tonight, I really did like English the best on stage tonight. I didn't know if he'd have enough points to win it for himself, but obviously the judges had him winning after prejudging, so that made it easy. I did like Lewis better than Raymond tonight. People have criticized me for saying this on the boards because I was such a big guy myself. Is Raymond too big? Is he bordering on possibly putting too much muscle on that frame?
He almost, well, first of all, in prejudging, I had him, I was leaning towards him, and at the night show, I kind of switched with Flex, and Jose second, and Kevin, I second or third. But he looked, surprisingly to me, a little boxy in the prejudging. And I've always been a super fan of his because I've always thought he had a, really significant V-taper. Yeah. He still has it.
Not as good.
It's not as good. He's just put on so much muscle that it's still crazy and impressive. It doesn't help his balance and symmetry.
You agree?
Yeah, he's getting, and the worst thing that can happen to him is that we're going up to 212 now, starting November.
Yeah, it's
the worst thing for Jose Raymond.
Well, it's not the worst thing as long as he doesn't try to get up to 212.
Well, but I think their mindset, Dave, is I have to get up to 212 because everybody thinks they know how much. If I come in at 200 pounds, even if he looks spectacular, this is what they're thinking. They're going to hold it against me. That's why everybody lies about their weight.
You know who the 212 is going to benefit the most? Flex Lewis, because Flex Lewis has a lot of room on that frame to add the muscle that he needs. And if he does, he could challenge English, I think. But then again, English is going to be able to come in that much bigger.
Is Seth Ferrocci going to compete in the 212?
I don't know. What do you think? Would Ferrocci give these guys a run for their money?
Ferrocci, we don't know, like we've said it before. But
Eduardo Correa?
Eduardo Correa, but there's people we don't really know their weights when they come down. Dexter Jackson is probably 220, so
he might be able to make 212.
Seriously.
Troy Alves.
Troy Alves should be able to, maybe he can suck it down.
Sean Roden.
Well, he needs to put size on. I think he should go up.
But if he does the 212, now he's got a choice.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to put that much size on. He can go in.
All bodybuilders want to get bigger ultimately.
I think the most overlooked guy in this Olympia was no doubt Chris Cormier.
Chris Cormier here? Let's get him over here.
Oh,
you're only 20 minutes late for the wrap-up. Who is giving?
Chris, who? Were you at the club? Were you at the club?
He's going out. He's at the after party. No one was there. He came back.
We're trying to roll one over there. Real quick.
Okay, Chris, talk to me about who you had winning the Olympia. Was this the right decision, Phil Heath?
Oh yeah, it was the right decision. It was a clear winner in the show. For me, it was sort of what I envisioned even a couple of years ago when I was making predictions that Phil should be beating Jay. I just like that type of style of physique and what it brings to
it's kind of reminiscent of yours.
Yeah, it's kind of he did the old Cormier on the old small waist trick on Jay. No, but Jay did a great job. He had a great career and he has nothing to be ashamed of.
Should Jay retire?
Well, I would just for health reasons. Probably not the healthiest thing to be walking around like that.
Even the great Chris Cormier retired, or did he?
This is vague.
You're on the. What about
the class?
What about the 202? Did you have Kevin English winning this or Flex Lewis?
Well, I just like that Flex Lewis just brought a package that he's never had before, that not too many 202s had before. I mean, he had he had cross striations on his glutes, which was like a reminiscence of a Rich Gaspari. From his day, he was totally just like Rich,
Well, the great Chris Cormier agrees with all of us,
So he's Kevin. I thought he was 70% coming up, he was in between being like he was tonight as he could have been in the prejudging, and I thought that homeboy kind of brought it a little bit more in that. But they were both neck and neck, and I was then at tonight, they were, they start catching up at the end, and it's not over to the end, but. I thought that it could have swung the other way.
Yeah, I had no problem with English winning tonight. I'm glad that Phil Heath is now the 13th Mr. Olympia. One more, let's talk about the figure, Lonnie, because you and I were arguing back and forth. Nicole Wilkins regains the Ms. Figure Olympia crown, beating the defending title holder, Aaron Stern. Good decision?
I think you asked me that on the radio show. You said, make a prediction. I said, it's too tough to call. You said, you have to make a decision. Pick one. And I think I said Nicole Wilkins.
Yeah, I did. And you did. And you know what? I thought that Aaron Stern was going to win tonight, not because I don't like Nicole Wilkins' physique, but she was the reigning Miss Figure Olympia. And you almost have to give the edge to the reigning champ. She was her best that I've seen her. What do you think won it for Nicole?
I just think she's got that wow factor that pops out at you with the blonde hair, and I think she won it because she's on the current issue of Iron Man magazine.
I heard she is.
And that was the final deciding factor. I don't know. They're both great champions. I mean, Stern won it last year. Nicole won it the year before. Nicole's the first athlete ever to win the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year. That's one of those apples and oranges. I didn't see the score sheet. I don't know how close it was after the prejudging, but I had no problem. I'm not so sure Erin was better than she was last year.
I think what happened was they really liked Nicole Wilkins in that figure Olympia spot. She was off last year. They punished her. Erin won. She got her game back on. She won the International, and now she won the Olympia. She's again Ms. Figure Olympia. So we have a lot of great champions here tonight. Nicole Wilkins, Ms. Figure Olympia. Phil Heath, this 13th Mr. Olympia. Kevin English, 3 times 202 Olympia champ. Chris, any final words?
No, I was just happy for Nicole because I thought she reinvented her physique. Like she just totally prepped for it, and just like that's what I like to see out of athletes, male or female. And I think she was like the epitome of the sport should be for a figure. And then Erica Stern's a great champion too, but she was a little bit less curvish in her physique, like a little bit flatter.
She was a little leaner, a little
straighter, and I thought that kind of like did her in with as far as and then she was just perfect presentation.
Chris Cormier has better insights into female figure turning and presentation and bikini presentation than the women do. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, you want me to explain to you why?
Why? All right, you're on the spot.
You spend enough time with him in the room and have him do turns and all that.
He's got a personalized.
Yeah. He's right on the spot, man. This is on the spot help posing.
Where's the after party tonight, Chris?
I'm probably gonna go to Encore. And then to Dre's. Dre's my spot.
Dre's is like where all the dead and zombie, the vampires go to.
Then we're going to head over to after in the hotel room. And then we're going to have the pool party the next day. So I got my...
So you're up for the next 48 hours.
I got my clothes in the car, and I'm ready for it.
You're up for the next 48 hours.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm on it.
Guess who he went out with after the USA?
Who?
Me. And I haven't been the same since.
You?
Yeah, we went out. Chris says, can you imagine if anyone saw you with...
I'm taking Lonnie Tieper out. I said,
was he able to keep up with you?
Yeah, he left out. He was on the rope. As soon as he got in there, he was like, man, this is crazy, man. You're still the real deal.
Well, the real deal started out with somebody on his arm. He didn't even have to...
lying bastard.
There's a lot of pandemonium here in Las Vegas, Nevada, outside the Orleans Arena. I'm Dave Palumbo with Lonnie Tieper from Iron Man Magazine, Chris the Real Deal Cormier, and Chris the Technician Aceto, rxmuscle.com.